How do we lead as CEOs with clarity, confidence, and long-term vision? In this episode, I'm going to help CEOs break free from the reactive leadership and operate with clear vision, strategic foresight, and confidence. And we're going to unpack how to define a compelling long-term vision, how to reverse engineer strategic plans, and how to lead teams with alignment and intentionality, even in times of uncertainty. So the greatest danger for us in business isn't competition. It's one thing, it's distraction. Most CEOs aren't failing because of bad ideas. They're failing because they pulled in too many directions to lead strategically. And so I want to challenge you and ask you, do you ever feel stuck in the weeds instead of thinking long-term as a CEO? Or maybe you're constantly reacting instead of driving strategy? Does your team know where you're going, or do they just know what they're doing today? In this episode, I'm going to walk you through how to lead like a strategic CEO with clarity, long-term focus, and confidence in every decision. And so as a strategic CEO, you can't operate from chaos. You've got to lead with vision. You've got to reverse engineer priorities, and you've got to empower teams to execute without micromanagement. We'd love for you to hit the subscribe button if you're tuning in and subscribe so you get notified. We got great content coming to you from Pure Media, and you can hit the also notifications button. Share this with somebody that they can be impacted so we can impact more people and add value to you. So let's jump in. As a strategic CEO, what must we do? First thing we must do, number one, you've got to begin to define your 3-year vision. And so most CEOs lead by what we call quarter or by crisis. But strategic CEOs, they set the pace with a vivid and inspiring and practical 3-year vision. And so you've got to set a 3-year vision. So as you're setting your 3-year vision, what do? It isn't just a revenue target. It's a picture of where the company is heading in terms of your growth, in terms of your culture, in terms of your impact and your brand legacy. So in terms of culture, where do you want to be 3 years from now? In terms of impact, in terms of your brand, what does that look like? What does a picture look like? What's the legacy that you're wanting to build for your company? So set a 3-year vision. What does that look like in 3 years? Where do you want to be? And then what do you need to do? You need to break it down into categories. So we mentioned before, what's one of the categories? Break it down into revenue. Where do you see yourself in revenue in 3 years' time? And what does that look like? Are you wanting to do a few $1 million or tens of $1 million, or maybe hit $1 million mark if you're a startup? You've got to have a goal for your revenue. Then what are your team goals? How many are you wanting to have on your team? When are you, wanting to expand? How many more managers do you need? How many more salespeople do you need? How many more creative people do you need on your team? How big is your team today? And what kind of culture do they have? And so then we can also begin to set, again, the practical side of product and service revolution. Product and service revolution. So what's changed? What's improving? What are you wanting to see in your products, in your services developing? Maybe you're wanting to develop more upsells. Maybe you're wanting to come out with more downsells. Maybe you're wanting to come out, depending what industry you're in. I mean, the sky's the limit, but where are you wanting to be 3 years from now that you see would be a sweet spot for your business? All right, and then ask yourself, where do you want to be in your market position? How do you see yourself positioned with your competitors and those that you're working against and competing with? Where do you rank in your niche? And then also, finally, your customer impact. It's not just about revenue, but what value are you wanting to be able to add to your customers? What transformation do you want to be known for? Clarity drives alignment. Your team can't chase after a blurry goal. A great example of those that have done this, one company is Patagonia. And they had a 10-year mission, and it wasn't just about selling gear, it was about saving the planet. And so this purpose-driven vision shaped their hiring, it shaped their marketing, it shaped their product development, and even their pricing. And what did it do? It attracted top talent and created an extreme customer loyalty, which has made them successful today. So if someone walked into your company today and they asked your leadership team, where are we going in 3 years? Would they say the same thing? Would they be able to define what customer impact they're wanting to have, how they are going to be, how you guys want to be positioned, in the market? What products and services are you developing, and what's the goal to be able to have an ecosystem to impact your customer? What are the goals for the team? What's the goal for revenue? All of these things are so important. Set a 3-year vision. And then move to step 2. Now that you've done that and you've defined your 3-year vision, what must you do? You've got to reverse engineer your growth path. One great thing is we're as visionaries, we have the 3-year goal, and we've got this goal, and we're wanting to hit the goal. But how do we get there? What's the process? So if you have your goals for your revenue, you have your goals for customer impact and all those 5 things that we talked about, what must you do then? Once your 3-year vision is clear, you've got to reverse engineer it into tangible steps. And so we call this the reverse timeline methods. And so if this is where we want to be in 3 years, where do we need to be in 1 year? So what's the process in 1 year? Where are we wanting to be? Where should we be at the 2-year mark to see that we are on track, all right? And so we've got to begin a plan and, again, reverse engineer what that looks like. So, again, then what must happen in the first quarter? What must happen in the second quarter? The third? And then your fourth quarter in that first year to hit your 1-year goal. And then again, you're repeating the same process for the second year, same process for the third year. And so again, as you're setting these smaller steps, these smaller goals, you know whether you're on target to meet your 3-year goal. Many businesses, we set a 3-year goal or a 5-year goal, but we don't reverse engineer it. And what happens? We just keep kicking the ball further, kicking the goalpost further down, and because we're not doing the steps, we're not reverse engineering to be able to get there. So what must happen in the first quarter? What should we focus on this week? You can even break it down in the first quarter and break it down to weeks. Your weekly goals. Your bi-weekly goals, monthly goals, in terms of your marketing, in terms of your leads generation, all of those things. What does it look like if you focus on this week? And so as you do this, you're going to be able to have a plan, and everyone knows whether it's there. So there's a great process that we can use in our hierarchy if we're dealing with vision. So when you want to have a vision, and many people are visionaries, as a CEO, we should be a visionary, you've got to then take your vision and move it into annual goals. How do we move from annual goals? Then, once we have our annual goals there, what are our 90-day goals? Again, your quarterly goals. And then as you have your quarterly goals, what do you have then? You've got to have your weekly commitments. There's a saying, if you don't have a plan, then you're planning to fail. And so we've got to be able to set these things. A great example of a company who's done this is the company ClickUp. The CEO, Zeb Evans, he mapped out a multi-year growth path when they first launched. And each year it had specific feature goals, funding, milestones, growth KPIs, and the fast execution came from clarity and not just structured sprints, and not luck, definitely. So again, use the quarterly strategy to off-site or a simple OKR tool to help this flow keep it alive. Let the vision shape your calendar, which is so important for us. So again, what are you doing? You're planning your calendar to be able to accomplish these things. And so it's very important for us to have that understanding that, again, we are reverse engineering the past. Once we've set our 3-year goal, how do we reverse engineer it back to the first year, the monthly, the bi-weekly, the weekly goals? Again, what's our annual goals, the vision, our 90-day goals, our weekly commitments, and begin to plan your calendar with the steps to do it. If it's not working for you, it's working on you, and it's causing you to move forward towards your goals. And then step 3, do only what only you can do. And so clarify what only you can do. And so it's so important. Strategic CEOs don't operate like COOs. If you're a CEO, you're not a COO. So you've got to operate differently. And CEOs are important, but as a CEO, you've got to focus your energy where it moves the needle. Okay? And so what are you're doing? You've got to focus as a CEO on moving the needle. So when I talk about moving the needle, what actually are we talking about? As a CEO, what must you do? You must be vision casting. I was talking to a CEO today, and he didn't have an operations manager, and he was operating as an operations manager at the same time. And what happened? He began to realize that he was no longer vision casting. And so if we stop vision casting, we stop keeping things on goals, what are we doing? We're just micromanaging. We're just putting out fires. We're not going to move the needle. We're not going to increase, all right? So again, look at vision casting. Look at high-level hiring. What hire do you need to make in order to bring your business to the next level? Again, what brand partnerships can you do? And again, it's a partnership. Don't just think you're going to connect with someone that's going to complement you and they're going to do the work for you. But no, how can we partner with other brands where we can add value to their clients and tap in to their network and allow them to do the same? And then again, look at your investor alignment. If you're having investors and you're having people that you need to be accountable to, you're looking for people to invest, what are the things that you need to do? What kind of money are you needing? What kind of brand partnerships are you needing? What high-level hiring can help bring you to the next level? Again, vision casting. So we've got to be moving the needle. How are we moving and bringing things to another level, all right? So move the needle, begin to focus on the vision, the high-level hiring, brand partnerships, investor alignment. And so as a CEO, we've got to be focusing on these things. You're not a COO. And so ask yourself, what task only I can do in the business? What task can only you do in the business? And focus on those things. Why are we doing all the other stuff that we can hire out, we can outsource out? It wipes out our energy. We only have 24 hours in a day. We only have a work day. We only have 7 days in a week, 365 days in a year. We can be focusing on the menial tasks that take us away from doing the things only we can do, that take us away from focusing on moving the needle. So ask yourself, and as you're watching this right now, what should I delegate as a CEO? What should I maybe automate or eliminate? And so these are things that we can do. Looking at what's happening in our business, ask yourself, what can I automate? What can I eliminate? Maybe it's just not working and you need to make a change in something. And again, very importantly, what can I delegate? These 3 things is what's going to cause you to be able to focus on what you're good at, focus on what your main job is, which is moving the needle. So look at that and then begin to audit your calendar. Ask yourself, and as you look in your calendar, what are the things that you're doing that others can do? So what are the things I can delegate? Eliminate those things from your calendar, all right? Highlight everything in your calendar that's not strategic. What is in your calendar that's not strategic and you're focusing on those things which is taking you away? And ask yourself, if I didn't do this, what would happen? If I didn't do this, what would happen? Is it going to be detrimental? Does it need to be delegated? Or maybe we can, again, do away with it because it's not really going to make a big difference. A great example of a person who did this was Steve Jobs. And we all know the story of Jobs. When he left Apple, the company was in decline, but he returned to Apple, and the company had dozens of failing product lines. So what did he do? He ruthlessly eliminated 70% of everything they were doing. And what did he do? He focused only on 4. He focused on the desktop, he focused on the laptop, he focused on the iPod, and the mobile phone, and the mobile device. And this decision led to the iPhone and Apple's global dominance. Why? He was focused on moving the needle. So eliminate good distractions. Good distractions are the things that cost us in building something else. So eliminate those distractions and begin to focus on building something great. And so it's so important for us. If you're just tuning in, we're talking about how we, as a CEO, we can come and begin to be strategic and bring things into the next level. And so again, it's so important for us to be a strategic CEO, to think like a CEO. We talked about being strategic, setting our 3-year vision, all right? And again, a revenue, team goals, product and services, marketing positions, customer impact, so that we can begin to set a culture and move the needle in our business. And then we talked about reverse engineering. Now that you've got your 3-year goal, the second step is reverse engineer the path. So again, breaking that down into monthly, weekly, bi-weekly goals, and breaking that down into your annual goals, your 90-day goals, your weekly commitments. And as you're doing that, audit your calendar, okay? And begin to ask yourself, what can you only do? As a CEO, you've got to be focusing on vision casting. You got to be focused on high-level hiring. You got to be focusing on brand partnerships, investor alignment. What tasks can you only do? Automate, eliminate, and then begin to delegate. And then what can we do? Next, we want to build a scorecard for a focus, all right? So a scorecard. It's so important that we learn to focus. Focus is the key. You've got to focus. If you're not focused, then you're not going to be moving the needle. Again, Steve Jobs, when he came in, is he brought that focus to Apple. They now have domination because they focus and they're great at 4 things. I think they've added on the Apple Watch, but pretty much they're still doing the same things that they did and what brought them success, and they're very good at it, all right? And so how can we then, we need to begin to develop, as we've got these goals, we've got these plans, begin to develop a scorecard for the future. People don't follow goals, they follow scorecards. A goal or a vision is something way, way out there, one day, someday. But someday and one day is not in the calendar. You gotta put in the weekly, the daily, the quarterly goals to be able to get there. So you've gotta have a clear, visible scorecard that creates accountability and alignment across the team. So as you're building a scorecard, what is it? It brings focus, it brings alignment, and it causes the team to have accountability. Where are we at in the goals and going towards the scorecard? So keeping score. Where are we at? You can do this in a checklist. Again, what is it really about? It's about tracking. So begin to have what we call lead indicators. So as you're having lead indicators, what is that? It's letting you know where you are at in what you're wanting to get. So what are the lead indicators? What are your activities? Those could be sales activities, prospecting activities. What are the best practices to get you towards your goals? Again, what are the engagements? So what are the engagements that need to be happen with clients? Maybe it's going back and upselling to different clients, all of that. How can we, again, then increase our reach? Maybe that means increasing ad budget. Maybe that means looking at different platforms, different ideas that are there. So again, what are our lead indicators? How many clients do we need to get? How many sales? How many products do we need to sell to get to the goal that we have set for ourselves, all right? And so look at your lead indicators. Then look at the second indicator, which I call this the lagging indicators. The lagging indicators. So where are you lagging in your business as you're looking at what activities are you lagging in? Maybe you were supposed to hit a certain amount of calls. You're supposed to hit a certain amount of sales. Last week you missed your mark. Your team missed the mark. So what do you got to do? You got to make it up this week. So looking at those activities, where are we lagging so that we can begin to put more gas to the pedal? We can motivate our team more. We can look at, do we need to refine something? Are we on point? And so look at those lagging indicators. What's the indicators? As we're looking at the activities, this is about our revenue. Put slash goals there. Our revenue. Are we lagging in our revenue? Are we lagging in our churn? Are we lagging in our profit? And so look at the lagging indicators and again, make adjustments to them. So again, what are our leading indicators? What are our lagging indicators that were there? And then another great metric is here because we always need to check on the health of our team. So as we're looking here, what is the culture or our health metric? So ask yourself, how is the team? How's the morale of the team? How's the morale? How is the employee engagement? Is your team excited? Are they pumped up? Are they expectant? Are they putting in the reps? And then what's the satisfaction? How does your team enjoy working with the company? How do they feel that they're growing? How do they feel in their career path? What are the tools that they think that they maybe need to have to begin to help them? So again, it's so important looking at these indicators. What are the lead indicators? What are the lagging indicators? What are the culture and the health metrics that you need to look on? And that will begin to help you. So focus on 5 to 7 key metrics. Display them weekly or bi-weekly, and let it be tied to an outcome that aligns with the vision, not with our vanity. A great example of a company that does this is Google. And they use what we call OKRs, which are objectives, and key results. And so what do? They set these OKR, these objectives, these key results that they're wanting to see, and they want to make sure the whole company is aligned with it. And so teams set quarterly goals that directly ladder up to the overall company vision. Everyone knows the why behind their weekly to-dos. So again, what is this? This is the why that we do. So what is the why in our company? All of these things begin to help us to understand the why and to monitor why we're doing what we're doing to hit our goals. And the why is so important. The why is what helps us to be motivated for our weekly to-dos and what we need to do and stay motivated daily to hit those goals and working together as a team. A great example of a company that does this is Monday.com, and they created internal dashboards that gamify results and let team members own a number. And so if your team doesn't know how success is measured, they're guessing. If they don't know which part they're to play in helping you meet the goals, then they're not going to be able to do it. So again, it's focus, it's alignment, it's setting that accountability so that they know what their part is to play, and we hold every team member accountable. We make sure we are always communicating these things to keep the alignment in the company, to keep the focus, and then again to keep accountability. And then what do we want to do? We want to set rewards for those that help us score the touchdown, help us cross the goal line. So it's so important. Build a scorecard that will help you to keep your team on point. And then again, you've got to lead the vision. Don't just announce it. A vision isn't something you launch once in a meeting. It's something that you repeat, you reinforce, and you reward weekly. So as you're leading the vision, what must we do? We must begin to share that vision. So share the vision. Repeat the vision. Keeping it constantly before your team, your goal, and then reinforce the vision. All right? So share, then repeat, then reinforce, and then reward. Very important. And so those that are helping with the vision, they get the reward. The reward could be monetary. The reward could be recognition in a team meeting. And so you lead the vision by modeling it. You lead it by storytelling around it and by anchoring decisions to it. So open weekly meetings with a 1-minute reminder of the visions. All right? And you can focus on culture, KPIs. You can focus on, progress, what's happening. Talk about some wins, but always bringing it back in the beginning so people know it's not just about numbers, details, and just management issues, but it's about keeping people on track for the vision. And then tie recognition back to behaviors that support the long-term goal. So tie recognition to those who support your long-term goal. All right, and so what are we doing? Whatever we celebrate publicly, that becomes the goal. So then filter decisions through all this. Everything that we do, does it align with where we're going? All right, so filter all your decisions. Through the long-term goal. Ideas are great, but does it align with our long-term goal? If it doesn't align, then we're not going to do it. And so again, training your team to think on those things, share the vision, repeat the vision, reinforce the vision, and reward. We can do that through 1-minute reminders in our team meetings, or through emails, or however we decide to do it. Again, tying recognition to those who support your long-term goals. Celebrate those that are helping you get wins. And then filter all our decisions, all of our planning through the long-term goal that we have. A great example of a company that's done this is Howard Schultz at Starbucks. When Schultz returned as CEO, Starbucks was struggling. He didn't just focus on numbers. What did he do? He re-energized the original vision and brought back a third place between a home and a work. And so what did he do? He visited stores, he connected with the baristas, he reignited the purpose across all the front lines, and in doing that, he revitalized Starbucks. So when your team starts quoting your vision back to you, that's when you know that it's working. And so again, when your team quotes the vision back to you, you are winning. So important for us if we want to be a CEO, be a strategic CEO. Don't be operating as a COO. Define the destination. What is your 3-year vision? Build that roadmap and reverse engineer it into annual, quarterly, weekly targets. Protect your energy. Do only what you can do, and don't be getting worn out by things that you can delegate, or maybe things that you need to refine. Track what matters. Create simple dashboards, and we looked at some of those scorecards to keep everyone aligned. And again, lead from the vision. Keep it alive in your culture. Keep it alive in your meetings. Keep it alive and have momentum. And so it's so important for us to do this and begin to create visuals, begin to create things that communicate to our team what we're wanting to do. And so one of the ways we can do this is using what I call a vision cascade map example. And so this is how a CEO's 3-year vision breaks down into manageable action steps. A great example of this is sauce. And so I'm just going to use this as an example to show you how to go in and how to be able to do this. But what did they do? They created a marketing automation platform. And so they set their 3-year vision. Let's see how to do this. All right, let's just go over here. They set their 3-year vision. And in their 3-year vision that Saw set, they had a few goals. Now, the first goal was they wanted to be the #1 marketing automation tool for small businesses. So the #1 tool for small businesses. High goal there, amazing goal there. And so they wanted to have focus on helping small businesses, which would be anywhere from 50 million to 20,000 paying users, all right? And so they set a year goal. And so their year goal was to grow to 50 million ARR and launch an AI-powered campaign builder. So again, #1 tool for small business in 3 years, all right? And so what did they do? Then again, they set the 1-year goal. Let me do this way, all right? 1-year goal. How are we going to get to the 3-year goal? Well, what do we need to do this year for the to make sure that we're on track, all right? And so what did they do? They set the goal to have 50 million ARR and launch an AI-powered platform, all right? Which was helping to be a campaign builder. So an AI-powered campaign builder. All right, again, how are we going to be the #1 tool for small businesses? This is what we need to do. We need to increase our revenue, increase our goal of customers, and begin to launch the AI-powered campaign builder that's going to help us to be the #1 tool. And so then what do? They set their 90-day goal. Okay, how are we going to get to the 1-year goal? What's our 90-day goal? And so what they did, first of all, is they hired a head of AI product. Hire a head of AI. It's a hire that was going to help them. And then what they do, they launched beta AI Builder with 100 VIP clients. So what they do, the VIP clients, their top performing clients, they launched this software for them to try it out, see how they liked it, get feedback from them, and then they also targeted to increase organic traffic by 25% through SEO. And so, again, increasing the traffic to set up so that they can hit the goals and the target that they had. They then also hosted their first industry summit to lead generation. All right, for lead generation. So what do? Again, they're setting their 90-day goals so they can achieve their 1-year goal, and then they can be on track in the first year to meet their 3-year vision. So again, this is what we call the vision cascade roadmap. And so then what did they do? Not only did they do the 1-year goal, the 90-day goal, they moved into their weekly. All right, and so their weekly, what we could say goals, or you could say KPIs. All right, and what was it? First of all, it was the AI beta testers onboarded. So how many we need to onboard? The 100 VIPs. Okay, so that's their goal. They need to increase the SEO traffic. So we want to increase by 25% in 90 days. So increase by 10%. Okay. Monitoring, are we increasing? How is the SEO going? What is the traffic looking like? And then what they did is they generated summit registrations to help them, all right? To increase their client base, all right? So again, onboarding their 100 VIPs, increasing, these are the weekly goals so they can hit their 90-day goals. And again, they can be on track for their 1-year goal. And so again, this is how we kind of break it down. And then they set themselves goals for their churn rate of under 3%. And so again, this is just giving you an example from one company that I studied and looked at, and how they begin to use the vision cascade map to begin to work towards their vision. So this show gives us a vision of cascades from bold to bite size, and how your team can know, are we on track and beginning to meet the target. Something you can do on a Monday morning as you begin to plan out. Great tool, help people know where we are on track in the vision cascade map. And then what would you do? You would do the weekly KPI goals. Again, for the second month, are we on track to make sure we hit our 90-day goals? Another great tool we can do is what I call the CEO calendar audit. And so it's very important that you visually separate high leverage activities from distractions. All right? What are my high level versus my distractions? So audit your calendar, and again, of course, remove those distractions. So if you were doing a real CEO audit, what would you look at? You'd want to look at your time block. What are you doing in your different time blocks? So maybe you have a 9 to 11 staff meeting. Okay, and then you're going to look at that, and then after that, it's 11 to 1 p.m. emails, and so forth. So what would I do? Immediately, I would look at that. For when I'm doing an audit on this, what do I want to do? Is I look at the efforts that I have here. Okay, for staff meeting, is that important? Yes, I'm going to keep that. All right. It's not a great little check there. Let me see. All right. For my staff meetings, let's use yellow. I like that better. All right. Staff meeting, do I want to keep that? Yes, very important. Checking emails. Can someone else help me check my emails? How is that helping me? Just go through emails and spam. Maybe I need to get someone to go or hire someone, an assistant, to help me to do that and delegate that. All right. And so again, is it something I want to keep? Is it something I want to get rid of, or is it something I want to delegate? So looking at your calendar, what are the high-level activities versus the distractions that you're going to do? And again, ask yourself, are you in sync with the vision? Is that helping you in leadership? All right. So if it's helping you with leadership, I'd give myself 2 stars. All right. If it's not helping you with leadership, 2 checks, excuse me. If it's not helping you with leadership, then again, you need to look at it. And so what would be some important things? Maybe doing a one-on-one. Important tasks that you're doing. And this is, a lot of industries, they do one-on-one meetings with staff, with your leadership team, and so forth. How is that going to help? Looking at team leads, social media content review. So what are the things that are, again, helping you in leading? Are they helping you to lead? If they're not, then we need to delegate them. We need to cut them out of our schedule and begin to focus on what is going to bring us, help us to again, raise the bar, raise the needle in our business. Ask yourself, what's important? Weekly podcasts going on. If it's strategic, that's great. But scheduling meetings. Maybe you don't need to be the one to schedule meetings. You need to get a CEO to do it. So again, as a CEO, protect your zone of genius, I call it, all right? Protect your genius zone. If you're worn out doing the mundane things, you're not going to be able to focus on leading. So everything else that's not in your genius zone, you want to start delegating it, or you want to delete it, all right? So this is very important. Another great tool that can help us is the CEO calendar audit, all right? Another great tool is what I call the KPI dashboard. And so this is a team dashboard template. It helps teams track the progress of their key goals in weekly real time. So again, what would some of these KPIs be, say for maybe a sales and marketing team, looking at their metric? All right, where are we at in our metrics? Are we on track? Are our sales where they need to be? Are we hitting the SEO target that we set, and so forth? Again, redefining target. If we have a 3-year target, we're not on track in the first week, what do we need to do? We need to increase the target in the next 2 weeks. We need to keep raising the bar so we can hit our 90-day goal, we can hit our 1-year goal, and again, our quarterly goals moving towards the first, second, and again, hitting our target in the 3rd year. So again, asking yourself, what's the KPIs? Are we hitting those things? All right, and then what's our actual? Where are we at in terms of the target, and where do we need to be? And again, keeping those things on point so the team knows. And again, what's the status of projects? I'm just throwing some things out there. Depending on your business, it may be a little bit different. And then, are we hitting the things? Are we almost there? Are we exceeding there? Are we maybe behind target, and what do we need to do to begin to adjust those things? So again, ask yourself, are you rating it on track, above target, behind? Again, so everybody's on board. They know not rate them. All right. So sometimes my brain's going faster than my pen. So the metrics, the target, the actual, the status, the projects, all of that. And so we have a free brand consultation that we do here at Pure Media. If you need help with setting some of these goals, targets, we'd love to give you that free audit. The information is in the link on our page. You can go and find out more information on that. So again, KPI dashboards, it's going to be different for every industry depending on where you're at. Are you in service? Are you in product? Set those things. And then finally, the 4th filter is the clarity filter. And so this is basically asking ourselves, where is the project alignment? Are we aligned to the project that we're doing? And this helps CEOs and teams evaluate the new ideas, the initiatives, and gives us clarity. Should we launch a new podcast series? If we're wanting to do that, ask ourselves, does it move us closer to the 3-year vision? What's the pros, the cons, the time involved, the money involved? Is it going to help us? If yes, it's going to boost our brand authority and reach in our niche, let's go for it. Ask ourselves, will this initiative improve our core KPI? Will it improve the KPI? If yes, it's tied to growth and retention, let's do it. Ask ourselves, do we have the resources and time to do it well? If we don't, not this quarter, bandwidth is too tight, then let's postpone it to another quarter, all right? And so again, asking ourselves, if it's, if we're able to do it, it's bringing it closer to vision, check. It's bringing it help to improve KPI, check. But come on, the bandwidth is not there. We're not going to do it. All right, we're going to postpone it because we want to, be able to make sure that we're on focus. Ask yourself, is there a faster or simpler way to test this idea? So again, find out and check it out, all right? And then make a decision. Launch as a micro experiment, limiting the scope of it and review. Maybe let's do it for 30 days. Let's if we're doing a podcast, why don't we, launch the podcast for 3 months? And test it to see how is it helping our company. And so again, use this filter to say no to distractions and yes to what drives the vision forward. Again, today in this lesson, we're talking about strategic leadership, and strategic leadership is a choice. Chaos is the default in any business. Clear vision beats a dozen scattered goals, all right? And so keep the vision clear. Keep the vision clear. You've got to have clear vision. You got to remove distractions. All right? Clear vision. Remove all of the distractions from your life. Clear vision beats a dozen scattered goals. And then look at your systems. What are the systems that you put in place? Not the intensity of the systems, but produce long-term results. Busyness, intensity doesn't mean production. And so we've got to begin to look at these things. Today we've given some tools to begin to help us to do that. So what are some action steps that we can take? As CEOs, what are some action tips that you can take? Schedule 30 minutes this week to write a 3-year vision. Set time aside. Don't just be doing the business and we don't know whether we are on track, okay? Identify one weekly meeting that can help you and begin you infusing the vision. Again, and use some of those tools that we talked about. They're going to help you to do that. And again, reverse engineer your next quarter based on your long-term direction. All right, reverse engineer your next quarter to make sure that it's on track with your vision. Okay, so it's so important that we begin to do these things so that we can maximize our growth and have our increase. So these are the action steps that we should take. All right, we have some Q&A that our team has put together of some questions that are most asked questions by CEOs, and we're going to end off with this today. We hope you've been impacted by this presentation. Again, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button so you can get notified when we're going live. We have a lot of great resources in our description that are free, available to you. You can do a brand audit, free brand audit to check on many of these things in your company and see where you are at in those things. You can book a free business brand consultation appointment with one of our team. We'd love to continue to help and support you here at Pure Media. So one of the questions that's asked is, how do I stay focused when everything feels urgent? And that's a big one because everything's urgent to everybody. They're always coming in my office many times and it's always urgent, but I have to determine whether it's urgent or not. So you need to shift from operating in urgency mode to priority mode, all right? So priority mode, go into priority mode. Again, it's not always urgent. Is it priority? How is it affecting our 3-year plan our 3-year vision. Everything feels urgent when there's no clear North Star. But when you have a vision and your vision's solid, your calendar and your decisions will align with it. So again, block out weekly CEO focus time to help you in doing that. If everything is a priority, nothing is a priority. So let your 3-year vision dictate your next 3 hours. Another question that we were asked is, what if my team pushes back on long-term planning? This usually means one of two things. One, they don't see how the long-term connects to their short-term work, or they're overwhelmed and stuck in execution mode. So again, if they're just stuck in execution mode, they're overwhelmed, they lose focus of the long-term vision, and they just focus on short-term work. That's what we need to, as a CEO, come in and again, clarify the vision. So translate the vision into their language. For example, say, here's what this means for you and your role. Here's what it means for your goals. Here is what it means for your wins. And so involve them in the planning process, and they'll buy into it because you helped them know the importance of them shaping the vision together with you. So break big vision down into 90-day sprints so it feels actionable. So it's so important. Again, have those 90-day sprints. And communicate them clearly to people. Salesforce does this amazingly, and they break long-term strategy into quarterly OKRs, and they're publicly visible, they're team-owned, and they create a buy-in and create momentum. Okay, another question we were asked is, how do I create clarity if I'm pivoting the business? Very important. Sometimes we need to pivot businesses, we need to maybe change the focus, we need to refine things. So when you're pivoting, clearly, make sure it doesn't come from having all the answers. Let them know and clarify that. It comes from you defining, and it comes from you wanting to stabilize things and be on point with what's changing. And so again, what's not changing? Your mission, your values, who you are. That doesn't change. But what is changing? Maybe it's your offer. Maybe it's your market. Maybe it's your model or your positioning. And so you need to tell people why we're changing things. Show them the data. Talk about the market shift. Talk about the opportunity and motivate them. So you could say something like this: we're not abandoning who we are, but we're evolving how we deliver value. Netflix has done this. They pivoted from DVDs into streaming without changing its core mission. They still are delivering great entertainment to consumers anytime, anywhere, but the model's changing because the industry is changing, and that just needs to be communicated. Another great question: what KPIs matter most at early versus growth stage? So the best answer is, the early stage, 0 to 1 million. And so this is the early stage. It's very easy to look at this. Look at your activation rate, your retention rate, your sources of promotions, your monthly recurring revenue, and look at those things. And then, when you go from the early stage, you go to the growth stage. Now, this could be different for different kinds of businesses, but I would say this is the 1 million plus, all right? So as you're breaking that 1 million mark, you want to scale and efficiently raise your KPIs. Look at your customer acquisition, your gross margin, your upsells, cross-sells, your expansion revenue, your churn rate, your team productivity, many things that we talked about. So track what gets you into the next stage, not what looks good on a pitch deck. In early stages, quantify feedback. It can be so important to you to help you in your metrics, all right? And so setting those things of where you're at and which stage, sometimes it's just continuing to focus, but to break that growth stage so that you can continue to scale. Someone asked this: how often should I revisit or revise my vision? So your core vision, it should remain steady for 3 to 5 years, all right? We shouldn't be changing it all the time. But how you execute that vision should evolve constantly. So revisit the vision annually to align it with the reality and recalibrate your goals. Don't be doing it every month. You're going to confuse your team, but give yourself a period of time. But annually, it's good to look, what do we need to refine? What do we need to do away with? What new things do we need to implement? And then Focus on that annually. Also, recast it quarterly to your team and begin to show them the metrics where you're at. Keep the energy in your team. Keep clarity high. So revise it only if the market or the mission or the model has shifted significantly. People don't like change, but the only constant in life is change. So we're gonna have to change, we're gonna have to adjust things, but don't always be adjusting. We need consistency. We need to, again, look at how the stage and what's the time frame of what we're in, and then refine it accordingly, all right? Amazon, they've stayed true to their long-term vision. The Earth's most customer-centric company. But it's revised how it delivers on that promise repeatedly. It went from books to cloud computing to AI. So again, we can adjust those things. So here's some great questions just to help you. And I'm sure those of you have questions, if you have questions, you can put them in the chat and we'll do our best to answer them. Or again, set up a free brand consultation call with one of our team and we can answer those questions for you. And here at Pure Media, we're here to help you to scale to come to the next level. Today we've learned vision is the CEO's most powerful tool. Don't let it stay trapped in your head or lost on the side deck. Break it down, lead from it, and let it guide every decision from hiring to headlines, and you will be successful. You won't be a frustrated CEO who's operating as a CEO. You're gonna be in your strength zone and help to lift the bar on your company. We hope you enjoyed this episode today. Again, share it with somebody. We'll see you in the next episode.